Incredible news today. Sayeh Arid's butt clipping has at last been fixed. Look at that. Beautiful. Incredible stuff. This truly is a big day leading up to Heart of Thorns. Okay, hello everybody and welcome to another video. That was something funny I saw. Today we are going to be having a look at general news things. Man, these specializations have been really fun, but Christ, so many videos have just been dedicated to those. Let's talk about other things that are going on, including the announcement of a beta I haven't even talked about on the channel. The butt clipping thing, I will say, for what it's worth, though it seems surprising they would fix something like this, it does probably affect stuff like age ratings and things. I'm not actually sure how ongoing games that are continually being developed, like MMOs, have their age rating adjusted. Like if they put in content that could be considered by some to be outside of the bracket. It's kind of an interesting topic, but I suppose they just had to quickly nip that in the butt. Oh! And I guess if you want to see the original picture, which really isn't that amazing anyway, I'll leave it down in the description below. Moving on to more exciting things. Yeah, back on May 8th, ArenaNet did actually announce another beta. So, to be clear, we had a Stronghold beta, competitive PvP, which we had first. Then they announced the PvE beta and the portals that drop to the heart of Maguma. And then on May 8th, they did announce a World vs. World beta. So that's one beta for each game type, unless there's going to be more like specialization stuff, which I'll talk about very shortly. But yeah, the World vs. World Desert Borderlands are also going to have a stress test. These could be broken in all manner of ways. We all know that World vs. World can be prone to incredible lag. This is a lot of new stuff going in there. I myself was a part of the Edge of the Mists beta, which was very stringently tested, and this is presumably going to be in a much bigger scale than that was, though as the blog does state here, also still small in size and duration. So this is really a stress test, as they say, rather than something that's going to let you play or something you might consider as more marketing for the expansion. They are only inviting some of the most active World vs. World players in Guild Wars 2 for the first one, and this is actually what they did for Edge of the Mist as well. It was a lot of big World vs. World guilds specifically who were added, and I guess they're doing something very similar. And people who are actually in are allowed to stream on Twitch, and they're not going to be under NDA. So people like me, for example, who World vs. World a lot, will actually be able to go in there and create videos. If I get the opportunity, I would happily bring you guys this stuff, though you will have to appreciate it's from a fairly newbie perspective as far as World vs. World is concerned. I personally loved Edge of the Mist and the design of it, and I think it sucks that it's not a bigger part of World vs. World. And I know a lot of hardcore World vs. World fans out there actually don't like it at all. They go on to say a little bit more about their betas in general, and say that all the future Stronghold tests too are just going to be open for everyone. You don't have to sign up like you probably will for this World vs. World one, or your guilds will. And they say as far as PvE is concerned, all you're going to need is that portal drop. So it sounds like you really only need it the once. And they do use plural here. So if there are going to be further PvE betas, then that same portal will enable you access. Though, again, I can't imagine them adding too much in future or subsequent PvE betas, especially if the amount of maps we get is kind of small. I think they're really all just going to be centered around Verdant Brink. But that's it, guys. That's really all they say. There is no further information whatsoever on when these tests are coming out. But those are the 3 different types of betas that they're running. And I'll keep you in the loop for when other announcements do come forth. Something cool though, something that Robert G said on the Reaper livestream just a couple of days ago. Someone brought this to my attention.
You know what, this is a good time to point out that the numbers are not final.
Yes, the numbers are not final. We are still experimenting with these values. Like some of the chill numbers are a little too high right now, I think, and so those will probably change before you guys play this in whenever the beta comes out.
Very probably.
Those will probably change before you guys play this in whenever the beta comes out.
Ah, well, would you listen to that? Doesn't it kind of sound a lot there like he's basically saying, oh, we'll be playing the specializations in the betas? So here's how I think they might be doing the PvE betas. It could be they're revealing a few of them now, and when we get the first PvE beta, we'll get access to maybe the first 4 or 5 elite specializations with it, and perhaps the Revenant 2. So not only will we be testing out the actual map, the events, the way the outposts work, the way that masteries perhaps work, stuff like that, but we could actually test out some of these new elite specializations too. Don't forget that the PvE beta though will be on our primary accounts, and so then that suggests as well, if this is true, that we will get the generic specialization update and stuff before the first PvE beta. It's a whole lot of speculation to do. Maybe we'll just get a regular PvE beta first and then a specializations one further down the road. I have no idea how they're going to give us the elite specializations and take them away again, and it's just going to be kind of complicated and odd. But yeah, it certainly sounds like you were saying we will get those for the beta, right? And it makes sense, particularly not for the PvE beta, I would say, but also the World vs. World beta and the Stronghold beta. Stronghold, most of all, this completely new meta that's coming in and all these new options for players are stressed as well as the map at some point. Probably some of the oldest news I'm only just now getting around to talk about to you guys on the channel is the existence of a few new NPCs that arrived in Lion's Arch a while ago, like mid-April. And they are consortium NPCs. ArenaNet did drop these guys in there. There's a couple of pairs, as far as I understand, around Lion's Arch. You should see some footage in here amongst my wonderful Thief gameplay. And they're kind of talking about how they've got some kind of a plan, or they're waiting to see if something will work. And you ask, hey, well, what is this? And they say that they're not really at liberty to tell. The reason I bring this up now is, yes, it was always interesting, but also consider that some of the Reaper footage we got, like the canned footage they gave us, showed a lot of scaffolding and stuff in the background of Lion's Arch. It could be that we're going to see a story pretty soon with the consortium stepping up and kind of taking charge over the reparations of Lion's Arch. That shaman told me something that blew my mind the other day, and that is that either it's already happened or very shortly, Lion's Arch in Guild Wars 2, and really slow down to think about this, Lion's Arch has been destroyed for longer than it was in its fixed state. We're like hitting that milestone very soon if we haven't already. That is crazy. So it seems like a great time for Arena to be like, okay, maybe we should start fixing things. And the consortium, this evil corporation, it's a great opportunity for those guys to come in and take charge, right? So they were actually dropped in, and I'm pretty confident we'll see some changes to Lion's Arch very soon. Next topic, I do not want to spend very long on this because I feel like I'm going to become a part of the machine if I do. Clary, one of the guys at ArenaNet whose job is primarily to do with security and bot-related thing, gold seller-related stuff, actually did something quite funny, 2 weeks ago now? This guy is actually in charge of my guild's TeamSpeak, and he's a pretty cool guy, and he's got a good sense of humor about things. So what happened in-game, essentially, was after banning an account, he logged into it and recorded a video of just before it would basically be deleted and cease to exist, jumped off of a giant ledge in Divinity's Reach, the character went splat, and that was it. Some people saw the link, everyone laughed at it. In our community, it did get pretty big, I believe around 300,000 views. There's even a couple of articles on it, but that was kind of the end, you know, it was just a funny way of this guy getting his comeuppance. Then a few days later, surprisingly in The Guardian, which is a UK newspaper, there was a very small piece on this event in the paper, just retelling essentially what had happened, but for, your generic newspaper, non-video game playing people, and tried to put it into a perspective for them and added some stupid, like, moral twist on it to get people thinking. Which we all kind of thought, wow, this is amazing it got in the newspaper, it's obviously stupid and they're exaggerating, but hey, that's kind of awesome. And then something really funny happened. Loads of different news sites started picking up all over the world. Tons of sites started aping one another, looking at this story and treating it as some kind of big, real story. And it ended up going everywhere. The shenanigans of Clary became this huge thing in the media circus. And it was actually really eye-opening for me to see just the way that traditional news media works, in that there can be any story and it can have no validity whatsoever. But if people think that other people are covering it, then they're going to cover it too. And that is absolutely insane for me to see firsthand. You know, I'm a part of this community. I know how big that story really was. It was something funny, and then it became this massive, massive thing. Okay, and consider my perspective as well as a YouTuber, as someone who strives for views on this website where Chris's video was. That thing's at over 1 million views now. I don't have a single video on my channel anywhere near 1 million views. 1 million views represents a 20th of the total exposure I have had over the past almost 6 years of my life. Just because people started aping it. That is crazy. Couple of small things. First is this. Oh yeah, we're on Amazon.de. This is German Amazon, and Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns has gone up for pre-purchase. And, of course, any date you would see here or anything, even pricing, I suppose, is going to be placeholder. Amazon always do this. I guess it was to be expected to come up. Don't be chumped. Don't be fooled, though, guys. Anything you see on websites like this, as this will slowly start to happen more, it's just like pre-launch, and it's just like pre-launch for any of your favorite games. It's not a true date, and it's not a true price until you hear it directly from the devs. They're just sort of covering their bases, and if you want to pre-purchase from Amazon already, then you can. Another really small thing, but to do with the Reaper, which I've been particularly interested in, is I feel like we've had more evidence that racial skills might be getting removed from the game. Why is this? Well, because of one of the human elites and its incredible synergy with the Reaper. Remember that Reaper gets a lot of benefits from chilling foes, from applying damage on that chill that can be quite nasty damage when enemies get below 50% health, to also taking massively reduced damage for themselves. Chill has certainly a lot of synergy with the Reaper, and there's actually a human elite called the Reaper of Grenth. Now, first of all, some will tell you the name is cause for concern. We've got the Elite Specialization Reaper, and then we've got an ability called Reaper of Grenth, but is available to not just any Necromancer, but any class in the whole game. Is that going to confuse new players? I don't put too much credence on this, but the fact that it is so powerful with the Reaper could mean this thing is getting a nerf. As the effects are this, right? You activate it, and it pulses this aura onto you that will continue ticking out, putting chill and poison on targets around you, and quite a lot as well, 10 targets, which is interesting, unblockably. Now, this has a massive cooldown, but it does have great synergy. Now, this particular thing excites me. I love the idea of the racial skills having use. But is it too much use, and does it conflict now with the thought, are ArenaNet going to be like, now all the Necromancers are going to want to be human because they're going to otherwise miss out on Reaper of Grenth? Like, if it's too good and people really want to use it and you see it en masse, then they're going to encourage this thing they didn't want before. So, are they going to go to the effort of nerfing it? Or did they only make many of the decisions they've already made because they're on the backs of knowing they were going to remove all the racial skills in the first place? Again, I've said it before, my favourite idea for the racial skills is to turn them into tracks. You can have a Sylvari track, an Asura track, a Norn track, a Char track, and a human track, and any race can choose any track they like. It's just they get one of those by default, depending on the race that they picked at character creation. I see no problems with that. It adds to our build diversity, but this, combined with the way the Revenant works and many other things, it's not looking good, guys. I won't be surprised if they announce they're getting cut. I'm not going to be happy about it at all, though. I see a perfectly viable alternative, and I just hope that they've considered it for themselves or heard the people talking about this and might actually consider it for implementation. I don't want to talk about this for too long, but I did want to throw my hat into the ring of a particular discussion I've seen going around a lot, and something I've even dabbled in, particularly around the Dragon Hunter time when a lot of people were underwhelmed with it, and that's the idea of elite specializations being upgrades. Now, because of what we saw with the Chronomancer that complements Mesmer so well, and just feels like a great upgrade, and because obviously people want, at their hearts, really want to see upgrades for their classes, they want on some level to see power creep, a lot of us had initially been seeing the elite specializations, despite being told that they're just supposed to offer us alternative ways of playing our classes, we've been seeing them as, this is a way to get stronger. And so when the Dragon Hunter came out, I was trying to reassure people in videos that actually we should view them as alternatives and as additional options and new things we can do, but not necessarily make us stronger, because they can't keep one-upping themselves, and I still stand by that. And it seems like a lot of people are agreeing with this perspective too, and saying, hold on, just because an elite specialization might look somehow underwhelming or not do what you wanted, don't forget that it's not supposed to be an upgrade. But I would like to add one further note that I think people are still missing on both sides of this argument, and that is the fact that they can be upgrades and they can be optional too. There's this discussion people are having of, why call it an elite specialization? Doesn't the word elite impress the notion that it is supposed to be more powerful? And then you've got other people saying, no, it's only called elite because just like our elite skills, we can only have one at a time. But that I don't really agree with anyway, because you can only have one heal skill. So what, are we saying it could be called a heal specialization? That's ridiculous. Elite does, on some levels, suggest that it's supposed to be better. And I would like to remind people that maybe, at least for the elite specialization, it being an upgrade, or viewed as an upgrade, isn't the end of the world. Okay, and I'm thinking again about the system from a long-term perspective. At some point, we're going to have lots of elite specializations to choose from. And I think ArenaNet are trying to put the game in a situation where most builds are running an elite spec. Not completely destroy builds that only run the core specs, but the initial elite spec can be something of an upgrade. These can be one-upping initial stuff on our professions. The difference is that the second elite specialization or the third elite specialization isn't an upgrade on the first elite specialization. Okay, so like the Blood Mage is not going to be trumping the Reaper, but the Reaper may be slightly above the core specializations to encourage players when there are many that most builds are kind of going to run 2 core and 1 elite. This could be a perspective that ArenaNet have, and it's not a particularly offensive one either to the balance of the game, except for a little bit of power creep now. And admittedly, also, this does satisfy that audience who wants the power creep and who wants to feel like their characters got more badass. Anyway, that's one way that the system could be being designed. I don't think it's as straight or black and white as people saying, oh no, they are upgrades or they're not upgrades. They can be a little bit more powerful, because ultimately we're only going to be able to pick one anyway, and maybe that's where the essence of the system lies. You guys will have to let me know what you think about that, but I think it's something not many people have been really mentioning. That's about it for today, guys. Just some general discussion on things that have been going on. I will continue to keep you in the loop with other things. There was, for what it's worth, a second blog post that came out with the Reaper. I've been using the art assets. You guys have seen that kind of stuff from it, but that talks a little bit about the visual design for the class that I never really pulled much information from. So if you would like to read that also, there will be one final link in the description too. Hope you guys enjoyed. Do let me know what you think about these topics, and I guess I'll see you tomorrow for another video.